Alright guys, this is going to be a serious video. A couple days ago, I posted a video and I was very open about what had happened to my son at a church. You know, when I first started making videos 10 years ago with my kids, it was never to go viral. It was never to get 1 million subscribers. It was me and my kids having fun and creating memories. That's all it was. Over the years, we've had a lot of people continue to follow us and watch our videos and show their support, and we truly appreciate it. Of course, like all channels, you're gonna have your negative people that leave negative comments, and that's fine. It's never bothered me. I could care less. People have the right to do what they want to do and to comment on whatever they want to comment. That's their right. We live in the United States. Now, my videos, they've always been reviews, me and the kids having fun, doing our thing. I've never made it personal. But like everybody else, we all have our personal stuff that's going on. You only see a few minutes of our lives a day in every video. And I get to pick and choose what I post. That is the privilege of having my own channel. Over the past 2.5 years, I've been going through some personal stuff. Me and the kids. A lot of lies have been spread. A lot of lies have been said. I've stayed quiet. I've never retaliated. Because honestly, I really don't care what people have to say about me. My focus is my kids, taking care of my kids, and that's it. You don't like me, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I really don't care. But I'm going to get into this little thing that's been happening the last few months. A few months back, several months back I should say, my son came up to me and he told me that somebody at his church was bothering him and making him feel uncomfortable. I didn't really know all the full details yet or what was really going on, so I told my son, tell this person to leave you alone. Walk away. A couple months later, my son came up to me. He'd been holding it inside. And he told me what was really going on. This person was coming up to him, a youth pastor at his church, as I said in my previous video, and was making him feel very uncomfortable, rubbing his shoulders, rubbing his waist, getting really close to him. So I made the decision to contact somebody that's close to my son and do something about it, or at least try. So I contacted this person, and they laughed about the situation. They didn't take it serious. They told me I was being dramatic. They said my son was lying. He only wanted attention. And if I had a problem with it, I could do something about it. So time went by, and the situation only got worse. And I actually heard a message that was relayed to me that this youth pastor was actually being encouraged to get closer to my son because my son was just troubled, needed attention. So they encouraged this youth pastor, even after my son was complaining about him, to continue to get close to my son. My son got upset, and another youth pastor pulled him into a room. And when my son told him that he had told me and that I was willing to go to press charges, this other youth pastor told my son, do not report it. You're only going to ruin somebody's reputation. That was the response. My son posted a couple videos on his own personal sites. Again, he was called a liar by family members, by people that were supposed to be close to him, and by people in the church. He was called a liar. He said that he just wanted attention and that none of it was true. My son kept telling me stories about how this youth pastor kept trying to get close to him. After this other youth pastor had taken my son into the room and spoken to him, the youth pastor that was bothering him came up to my son and he asked him if he could talk to him in private. My son said no. He walked outside of the church and he sat on a little hill until church was over and he had to leave. When I heard this, I had enough. I really had. For the longest time, I stayed quiet. But when you harm one of my kids, I'm going to do something about it. So I went to the police department and I filed the police report. After I filed the police report, on several occasions, I spoke to the police over the phone. I gave the police permission to talk to my son. He gave his statement. Other people from the church were contacted, and they were made aware of this situation. There are police reports because I filed them. So that is no lie. This guy that was bothering my son, this youth pastor, was told that if he ever bothers my son again, if he does not respect my son's boundaries, he would be arrested right away. That was made clear to him. Shortly after all this happened, after I filed my police report, after the youth pastor was warned by the police to stay away from my son, and this is all documented in a police report, we received word, a message was relayed to me and my son, that my son was no longer welcome at the church and he was being kicked out. Well, since I made the last video that my son had been kicked out of church, I have since been informed that my son was not kicked out of church and he is more than welcome to come back whenever he wants. Why is that? So if my son was never kicked out of church, why was the message relayed to us that he was? Why would you tell us that my son was kicked out of church? What was the point in that? What was the purpose? To cause my son more harm and more pain? I am the one that wakes up at 1 o'clock in the morning every single day to check on my son and make sure he hasn't committed suicide because of the emotional effect that this has had on him. I am the one that wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work and I check on him and he's sitting up on his bed crying because of the shit and emotional harm this has caused him. I'm the one that's dealing through that crap. So why would you tell my son that he was kicked out of a church if he really wasn't? I ain't playing no games. My son's story will be heard. I will back my son up in everything. Everything that he says. I believe my son. He will not be ignored. His story will be heard. This youth pastor will never harm another kid again. We are not going to stay quiet. You say that my son is now welcome back in your church only because I made a video of it to expose you. Only because I got sick and tired of it. And my son's not going to stay quiet. So now you're trying to save face. Again, we will not stay quiet. This church will no longer ever harm another child again. And to that youth pastor, don't even think it's over with. I'm not going to let you get away with it. You will never harm another kid again. Before I end this video, I have one more thing to say. When I first spoke to somebody from that church and made them aware of what was going on with my son, their response to me was, if I have a problem with it, do something about it. So to those people who are watching this video, to those people from the church, to those people who harmed my son, If you have a problem with what I have to say and with what my son has to say, my response to you is do something about it.